Hi, in this support video, I'd like to talk about the time I met a woman named Connie. This is when I was about 25 years old and I was working at a home for the elderly, so an assisted living community. And at this point, I was still struggling quite severely with my OCD. And my plan of action was pretty much mostly relegated to the domain of hoping that it goes away and that it kind of works itself out naturally. I mean, I was doing a couple things here and there, but I was not really taking it on. I was still living in hope and in this belief that life just kind of works things out. And as you move through the years in your life, you just kind of get better and expand and grow naturally. And the reason why I wanted to talk about Connie, one of the residents at the assisted living community, is because she was a big wake up call for me. Connie was 97 years old, and when she was younger, there was not really much in the way of mental health support. And I know that Connie had the same disorder that I had, and she had not been diagnosed. And what I got to see actually was almost like a reflection of myself, of where I was heading if I wasn't intending on becoming more serious about my healing and my mental health. Because Connie had actually become almost like, I could recognize in her what I could see in myself, but it didn't seem so severe within me because I was still quite young and had this future and this hope. What had happened to Connie, having lived her life undiagnosed and not actively participating in her healing process, was that she became the disorder. She was almost like a manifestation of the disorder. It's like she had a body focus repetitive disorder where she would scratch at herself, and she had this one particular spot on her leg that she would go for. And the woman would wake up in the morning and she would go for breakfast, and then she would go back to her room. She could barely walk. She was bent over severely. She would go back into her room and sit in the same chair every single day until mealtime. And what she would do all day long would be to scratch at her leg. The only way I could get her to stop scratching is if I brought her sweets or something sugary, which is interesting because if you think about the effect sugar has on the body, it's also a bit of a relief. It's a bit of a high, a positive energy that people do use to suppress as well. And what had happened to Connie is that her skeletal structure had almost like contorted itself over time to accommodate for her to pick at her leg. So her spine was severely hunched and she was just bent over and almost folded in half, but permanently, so that she could reach her leg, where she couldn't actually sit up or stand up properly anymore. And when I saw this, what I realized was that this disorder doesn't just go away on its own. And this disorder can consume you physically, mentally, emotionally for the rest of your life. And another thing about Connie that I recognized in myself was that she just wasn't there. She wasn't present with you when you're talking to her. It was almost like the experience was like talking to somebody who was constantly on their way to go do something else. It's like she just wanted to go and scratch at her leg and pick at her leg, and anything other than that was basically preventing her from being able to do what she actually wanted to do. So it was like an annoyance or a kind of a hassle for her to have to interact. And when she did interact, it would be for very brief moments. And I've seen myself go into this kind of, not there, just not present in your body, kind of somewhere else. So this reality check for me, I mean, the woman was old, and I can tell this had been going on for a while. It was like a real commitment that she had going on here with picking at her leg and really just letting the disorder take her over. And the wake-up call for me was that that could be me if I don't do anything. And it has been shown to me time and time again that it is absolutely necessary to become an active participant in your healing and to not wait for it to go away or clear up on its own, or for other people to do something for you. You have to actively engage in your healing. And for me, this was also shown to me through the fact that the job at the old age home was extremely stressful. And I counted, and in a space of about 5 to 7 years, I had 25 jobs, and they were all extremely stressful. So it took 25 experiences of work and me ending up in the same position to realize that I was the common denominator. No matter what job I have, no matter what I do, I'm going to bring in that stress and anxiety, because that's actually what I'm creating and generating within myself. And it gets to a point where you can no longer continue to blame or to place responsibility on things outside yourself, like people, like work, like your environment or the conditions of your life. I mean, as bad as things can get, there is that point of self-responsibility where you have to step up and do something. So for me, with this YouTube channel and with the creation of my website at ocdforgiveness.com, I'm sharing the process that I began to engage in, which was digging deep to the roots of the disorder, where I could actually see how I was mentally, physically, and emotionally creating this disorder within myself to cope with feelings and emotions and to basically suppress them, with giving myself the only outlet of letting them out through participation in OCD. It was the only relief. And I started to diffuse the energies through walking this process of understanding and getting to know myself, and then give myself more outlets, as well as the training yourself to slowly stop. What I realized there was that the OCD was, I had created myself in such a way where the OCD was my only outlet. So it's like when I tried to just take that away and not do anything else, like just basically stop, it was like taking away my lifeline, my only support. And that's the kind of twisted relationship we develop with OCD, is that it becomes the one thing that can help us. So it's very important to structure your process of healing in such a way where you make sure that you have something that you're developing and creating within yourself that can support you in a better way than the OCD has been supporting, because that is obviously destructive. And this step of taking self-responsibility is not an easy one to take. I mean, seeing Connie was one of many experiences I've had where I had that wake-up call, where, life is kind of knocking and being like, hey, you got to step up and you got to do something. And that something for me was taking more self-responsibility in my healing process. So I'm going to put the link to my website in the description, and hope you just take away from this that kind of letting go of hope and letting go of this belief that it's just going to get better on its own, because that was over 10 years ago for me now, and I saw it didn't just go away on its own. And I had the opportunity to see another individual who, never got treatment or support, and what that ends up looking like, where it becomes all of you, and you literally are this tiny speck of a human being. I mean, it was really sad, and it was really scary for me to see that that's what I could become. All right, so thank you for listening. Check out my website, and I will see you next time.